Super Bowl 55 is here. Welcome to odds.com Super Bowl player prop video with our player prop expert, Dutch Boy Fresh. Dutchy, my man, how you doing on this Wednesday evening?
It's good, Jimmy. I'm real good, man. Salute to the real ones. Appreciate everybody tuning in. It's a big weekend. Let's get to that bag, bro.
It is a huge weekend right now. For overall market moves, Kansas City opened up at -3, around -115, depending on where you shop. We've seen that now move between -110 and -120. There still is one or two 3.5s, but they are hard to find. And we all heard about the story of the $2.3 million put on the Buccaneers at +3.5. But that's something the books love. They want, because most of the action is on the Chiefs. So anybody who wants to make a big bet on the Bucs, any book is going to be happy. But the 3.5 is a little dicey. This total opened up at 56.5. It's now dropped a half point to 56. There are a few 55.5s on the board, although we do expect the public overs to come in later in the week and possibly give us that 56.5 again. But let's get into player props. 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, February 7th, Super Bowl 55. Kansas City Chiefs 16-2 at Tampa Bay Buccaneers 14-5. Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida, and 67 Fahrenheit with scattered thunderstorms / chance of showers. The precipitation percentage goes down as the game goes on. Just before game time, it's about 48%, but it goes down to about 25% later in the game. We're going to start our player props with Dutch Boy Fresh on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's start there. First off, Tom Brady completed 65.7% of his passes for 4,633 yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions for a rating of 102.2. In the playoffs, he hasn't been as good, completing 55% of his passes for 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a 90.8 rating. In the regular season, the Bucs were 8th in the league, getting 7.6 yards per pass attempt. Brady was 3rd in the league with 67 passes at +20 yards, and 4th in the league with 12 passes +40 yards. And whether or not he could throw the deep ball is something that has been debated for a long time. In the regular season, Mike Evans was his favorite target with 70 receptions for 1,006 yards, 13 TDs. Chris Godwin was second with 65 receptions for 840 yards and 7 TDs. In the postseason, it flipped. Chris Godwin led the way with 14 receptions for 223 yards, 1 touchdown. Mike Evans getting 10 receptions for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans and Antonio Brown are both dealing with knee injuries but are expected to play. Evans is more of a sure thing than Brown. The Chiefs' pass defense was 14th in passing yards allowed. They were tied for 20th, allowing 29 pass touchdowns and tied for 5th with 16 interceptions. They were 10th, allowing a passer rating of 89.4. They were 19th in the league with 32 sacks. We start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing game. Dutch Boy Fresh, are you using any player props from the Bucs passing game?
I am, Jimmy, and it might surprise you where I'm going. I'm taking a look at Scottie Miller. Now, this guy's actually averaging 29 yards a game the last 2 playoff games. And he's only done that on 3 catches. But I believe AB's not actually going to be completely healthy. And also, Kansas City has had issues guarding smaller receivers quick on their feet, like my man Miller. Now, just an example, last week, Beasley had 88 yards on 7 receptions. And then even if we go back to against the Las Vegas Raiders, Hunter Renfrow, same type of receiver, is averaging 39.5 receiving yards a game against the KC. So I look for Scottie Miller to get over 20.5 receiving yards, -115, available at FanDuel, Jimmy.
Scottie Miller over 20.5. Scottie Miller over 20.5 receiving yards, -115. I get it. A nice spot to start off your card.
One catch, he gets that, Jim. One catch.
Yeah, without a doubt. Absolutely. And we just talked about the amount of 20-plus passes Brady's thrown this year. 67.
You said it, my man.
There we go. Dutch starts this card with Scottie Miller over 20.5 receiving yards. We move on to the Buccaneers rushing game. Buccaneers were tied for 28th in the league, rushing for 1,519 yards. They were tied for 24th in the league, averaging just 4.1 yards per carry, tied for 15th with 16 rushing TDs. They had 9 rushes over 20 yards and 2 over 40. Ronald Jones was the leading rusher with 192 carries for 978 yards, averaging 5.1 yards per carry for 7 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette second with 367 yards on 97 carries for an average of 3.8 yards per attempt with 6 touchdowns. In the postseason, it flipped. Leonard Fournette has been the go-to guy. He's run 48 times for 211 yards, 4.4 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns. Ronald Jones has only carried the ball 23 times for 78 yards, averaging 3.4 yards per carry with 0 touchdowns. And we know he had that pinky surgery late in the season. The Chiefs' run defense was 21st in the league, allowing 1,954 yards, tied for 16th, allowing 4.5 yards per carry. They tied for 8th, allowing 8 rushes for over 20 yards, and allowed 3 carries over 40 yards. Here we go, Dutch. Are you betting any player props from the Buccaneers rushing game?
Yes, I am, Jim. I'm looking at Leonard Fournette. You said a lot. But he's averaging 16 carries a game in these 3 playoffs and also at 70 yards a game. He does have the 2 touchdowns like you mentioned, but I believe he is becoming their go-to guy, just like you mentioned as well. He's a big guy in a big game. I'm looking for him to get over 46.5 rushing yards, available at FanDuel at -110. I'm also looking for him to get in the end zone plus 125, and this is all also available at FanDuel. Like you mentioned, he is the go-to guy. He's a big back. KC does have issues with the running game. I look for Leonard Fournette to not only get in the end zone once, maybe twice, but definitely cash that plus 125 for us, Jim.
Interesting. Backing Leonard Fournette over 46.5 rush yards and for a TD at plus 125. Curious to see what he is for 2 TDs because I'm sure that would be
plus 550.
Plus 550. You know, that's not enough.
It's not. That's why I didn't mention it, but it definitely crossed my mind. Because I definitely see them attacking that ground game of KC.
I understand that whole move for you. I would, in my head, I was thinking you were going to get plus 800 at a minimum. So 550 would not be enough for me to pull the trigger on Fournette, 2 touchdowns. There you go. The second and third spots on Dutch Boy Fresh's player prop card. He's backing Fournette over 46.5 rush yards and TD plus 125. We move over to the Kansas City Chiefs. Start with their passing game. Mahomes completed 66.3% of his passes during the regular season, 4,740 yards, 38 TDs, 6 interceptions for a passer rating of 108.2. In the postseason, he raised his game, completing 73.5% of his passes for 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a passer rating of 118.5. During the regular season, the Chiefs were tied for 6th in the league, gaining 7.9 yards per pass attempt. They were second in the league with 69 completions for 20-plus yards, 2 more than the Bucs, and tied for 16th in the league with 8 completions for 40-plus yards. Travis Kelce was Mahomes' favorite target, 105 receptions, 1,416 yards, 11 TDs. Tyreek Hill was next with 87 receptions for 1,276 yards, 15 TDs. In the postseason, Kelce again led the team with 21 receptions, but his 227 yards was surpassed by Tyreek Hill's 282 yards on less receptions, 17. Wide receiver Demarcus Robinson placed on COVID reserve list Monday. It's due to contact tracing, not a positive test, so he could be available on Sunday. Sammy Watkins' calf injury that he's been dealing with says he's feeling great. He's very optimistic that he'll play in the Super Bowl. The Buccaneers' pass defense, 21st in the league, allowing 3,945 yards, tied for 22nd, allowing 29 TDs, tied for 7th with 15 picks. They were 10th in the league, allowing 46 passes of 20-plus, tied for 8th, allowing 7 passes of 40-plus. They were 18th in the league, allowing a passer rating of 94.3, and they were tied for 4th in the league with 48 sacks. Nice pressure at times, but susceptible in the pass defense. Here we go, Dutch. Are you using any player props from the Kansas City Chiefs passing game?
Yes, sir, I am. And I got to look at the most talented player on the field, in my opinion, and that's Tyreek Hill, a.k.a. the Cheetah. Now, you touched on a lot, Jim, but he is averaging 8.5 receptions in the 2 playoff games on 141 yards. I definitely see him eating. The very first game he played against Tampa this year, he had 13 receptions, 269 yards on 3 touchdowns. I don't expect all that, but I do expect him to get over 92.5 receiving yards, at -110, available at FanDuel. And I also expect him to get over 7.5 receptions at +130, available at Draftkings. Lock those both in, Jim.
Ooh, Tyreek Hill over 7.5 receptions +130 at DraftKings and over 92.5 receiving yards at -110 at FanDuel. And that is all you're using for the Chiefs passing game?
I'm actually going to take a look at Patrick Mahomes as well. Now he is in the MVP. Obviously he's going to be in that conversation. I'm going to take a look at the MVP prop with Patrick Mahomes. It's minus 105 at FanDuel. I can't pass this up, Jim. I am going to make this an official play. The yards are 329.5, so I'm going to stay off of that. But against the Bills, he went 29 of 38, 325 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Quarterback rating of 127. Now, in that matchup that he had against Tampa, he was 37 of 49, 462 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Quarterback rating of 124.7. We know this is a quarterback league. I expect the Chiefs to win this game, and I expect Patrick Mahomes to be the MVP of Super Bowl 55.
Ooh-wee. Mahomes for MVP minus 105 at FanDuel. So go with the Tyreek Hill receptions prop, getting the 7.5 for big plus score, and 92.5 receiving yards minus 110 at FanDuel.
And since we're on the MVP prop, Jim, I did want to mention, I don't believe I got this in. If you guys are liking Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers on Sunday, I don't see how you don't lock in Tom Brady at plus 210. It's available at FanDuel. I'm not going to make that anything official because I am on the other side. But if you like the Buccaneers, I don't see how you don't go to the window with plus 210 Tom Brady MVP.
I agree completely. That makes absolutely perfect sense. If you're back in the Bucs, why not get that plus 210 score on Brady for MVP?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely perfect sense. Okay, we move on to the Kansas City Chiefs rushing game. The Chiefs were 16th in the league, rushing for 1,799 yards during the regular season, tied for 11th, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. And that's actually pretty weak if you think about how you have to worry about the passing game so much. You'd think that the running game would be wide open. They were tied for 22nd with 13 rush TDs, tied for 11th with 10 rushes of 20-plus yards. They were tied for last in the league with the Chargers and Dolphins with 0 rushes of 40-plus yards. They were led by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 181 rushes for 803 yards, 4 touchdowns. He injured his hip and ankle in Week 15, and although he's come back for the playoffs, he's been barely used. Patrick Mahomes was next with 62 carries for 308 yards, 2 touchdowns. Le'Veon Bell, 63 carries for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, followed by Darrell Williams, who ran 39 times for 169 yards and 1 touchdown. In the postseason, it's been Darrell Williams who's been the trusted back carrying the rock. He's rushed 26 times for 130 yards, 1 touchdown. And if you look at who's next, it's wide receiver Mecole Hardman, 2 carries for 54 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, after such a great rookie year, has rushed just 6 times for 7 yards in his return from injury. Le'Veon Bell, who's been dealing with a knee injury, has rushed twice for 6 yards. The vaunted Buccaneer rush defense was much the best in the NFL, allowing a league best 1,289 yards on the ground, just 3.6 yards per carry. They allowed a league low 10 touchdowns on the ground. They were tied for second, allowing just 4 carries of over 20 yards and just 1 carry of over 40 yards. Here we go, Dutch. Are you betting any player props from the Kansas City Chiefs rushing game?
Yeah, I can't lie, Jimmy. Nothing really attracted me on this. When I take a look at that backfield, you mentioned it. They got 3 different guys. To me, personally, their best runner is Tyreek Hill. I can't go against that stout D line of Tampa. I think that is the best defense against the run in the NFL. I'm not gonna back my money on anything. I'm looking more of a for sure thing, and I think I'm gonna count on my guy Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes when I look at Kansas City. I will give you a juicer though, nothing official, but when we're talking about the rushing game and everything, Kansas City, I'm gonna look at another MVP spot at Tyreek Hill plus 1,400. Drop some pizza money, maybe a little joint money, nothing big, but at plus 1,400, we know he could return a punt, he could do a reverse, and we know he's going to get off in the receiving aspect. So I wouldn't be mad at the plus 1,400, but when I look at Kansas City from a rushing aspect, nothing stands out to me, Jim.
I get it. I understand it'd be risky business going against this Buccaneers rush game, but you're going to get low numbers. So I can understand some people taking a risk, but then you have to say, is it going to be Darrell Williams who's going to have the rock?
Who's it going to be?
Yeah, so I get it. I absolutely get it. All right, let's review Dutch Boy Fresh's picks here. Scottie Miller over 20.5 receiving yards at minus 115 at FanDuel. Leonard Fournette over 46.5 rush yards and a touchdown. The touchdowns plus 125. And the Fournette prop, sorry, I didn't write that down. What's the juice on that Fournette prop?
On the rush, Jim?
Yeah, on the 46.5 rush yards.
Yeah, minus 110, boss.
Minus 110.
Plus
Thank you.
125 for the touchdown.
Yeah, plus 125 there. Yeah. Then Tyreek Hill over 7.5 receptions. Dutch going for a score at plus 130. Over 92.5 receiving yards at minus 110 with FanDuel. And Tyreek, man, I get it. He's as exciting as any player we've ever seen. Mahomes for MVP at minus 105 at FanDuel finishes off Dutch Boy Fresh's picks. And there you have it. Player props, Super Bowl 55 from our player prop expert, Dutch Boy Fresh. Dutch, my man, any last words for these great cappers supporting the show?
Absolutely, Jim. You already know me and Jimmy, we're on our way to the motherfucking bag. Y'all stay fresh, stay blessed, and let's stay putting these motherfucking